Hi, this is Elliot Fishman, and welcome to part 3 of 3 on the evolving role of social media. We left off last time talking about YouTube, and I think I want to spend a little bit more time on YouTube because, as I mentioned, YouTube is the number one choice of all of our users over Facebook, over Instagram. It's the number one choice. And what YouTube does at the end of the day, it's videos. It could be short videos like I have a quiz that'll be about a minute long, a specific case. Or it could be this lecture, which is about 20 minutes, 3 parts, but each of those parts will be on YouTube. And we could divide it by topic: liver, spleen, pancreas. We also post my discussions that I do on YouTube Live. We also post some of the discussions I do on Facebook Live. So you could have lots of lectures. Now, when you use YouTube, you're not looking to look at cases. You want to do cases, you look at Instagram, you look at a website, you look at Facebook. You're coming to YouTube to listen to a lecture. It could be a story, it could be experience. Many people give YouTube lectures, both in and outside of medicine. So that becomes very important. And as I mentioned, we have 37,000 users, subscribers who get our information. More than that obviously use it, but look at that curve, how the curve keeps going up. So we're very excited about that. Now, viewers were most engaged with longer videos, with interaction and watch times indicating greater interest than simple click views. And what that simply means is someone's coming to a lecture. You want to hear me speak about the pancreas, the liver, the kidneys. And so you know the lecture is 15 or 18 or 20 minutes, and you've planned in advance that you're going to have that much time to spend, assuming my lecture is good and you don't want to shut me off. But again, this is one of the things that's very important, is that anybody, anywhere, can listen to my lecture. And in places with limited resources, whether it's my lecture or somebody else's, become very, very important. We also have lots of flexibility in terms of how we put the information up there. We try to do it in a way that makes it easiest for the users to find. Obviously, when you have thousands and thousands of lectures, it can be somewhat tricky. So you need to figure out ways of doing it that the user can find the information. Perhaps from an academic perspective, and one thing I didn't talk about was, if you want to get promoted, will social media help you? Well, if you write an article about social media, then it'll help you because you published an article. But doing a website or a YouTube channel or anything else is a challenge from an academic perspective because it lacks peer review. And so there's no peer review saying it's good or not. Maybe it's just not very good. One of the challenges for users, of course, also on YouTube or any social media, is how good is the material you're looking at it? Is it correct? Is it honest? Well, I think that's the point. People need to choose who they listen to, whose lectures they want to hear. And of course, the credibility is the number one thing when people decide what they want to look for. You don't want to hear some lecture that makes no sense, or maybe it makes sense, but it's totally incorrect. It's like people had YouTube videos about why the COVID was a hoax or why the vaccines were no good. Okay? You got to be careful what you listen to. There's no shortage of videos with incorrect information. A study of psoriasis videos showed that 7% were created by medical professionals or institutions, while 11% promoted miracle-like remedies. A study of 560 Italian YouTube videos on vaccines and autism found that 70% of the presentations expressed a negative attitude to vaccines, and that anti-vaccination content was 3 times as popular as pro-vaccination content. Within the pool of content that is not blatantly incorrect, there remains instructional videos that are not helpful. One study found that only 6.6% of femoral artery access videos clearly showed the femoral artery access technique. In a review of laparoscopic cholecystectomy videos, only 15% were rated as good. Of course, these are low percentages. So one of the things we're saying is just because it's on YouTube doesn't mean it's good. Google, which owns YouTube, is careful not to put violence on, of course, but they're not there checking, is this content good? Is my lecture on pancreas good? Or is it not so good? Could someone do it better? They're not saying that. They're saying it's there, and I can say user beware. Okay? Again, video instruction may be the future of radiology education, and YouTube can and will be a powerful way to promote such content. Now, when you look at lectures and discussions, we've spoken about YouTube now. You can use Facebook. I spoke about Facebook Live. You can do Microsoft Teams, though I don't use that. You can do Zoom. We run webinars where you have many people log in from many places. Zoom is really good for doing live lectures, which we call webinars. People can listen. You can let people ask questions. You can have panel discussions. It works out very nicely. As I mentioned, YouTube and Facebook Live give us the most experience. For many years now, I've done YouTube Live on Wednesdays with one monthly quiz. And typically, it's a lecture from me, and people can ask questions in real time. And it's for free. So that's one of the good things as well. Microsoft Teams works well. It's easy to send invites, perhaps, but we tend to like Zoom. Mainly because I have a lot of experience with Zoom. So does everybody else. It's easy to do Q&A. It's easy to do panels. It's very low cost, and it's secure. Remember in the beginning with Zoom, it was very insecure. People would Zoom bomb you and everything. Well, now it's very secure, so there typically is not going to be any issues. So Zoom is a very strong platform. It's a little bit beyond the scope because it really isn't social media, but it's a way of thinking about how to get information across. You can do a Zoom conference for your patients, for your referring physicians, or for your staff. One of the things that we've done over the years very kindly is we've run a session roughly once a month, between 7 and 9 times a year, where we have visiting people come in, now they're remote, and talk about topics that interest them. We typically don't have physicians. We have people who are leaders in other industries, and our goal is to learn from them. We've been able to take this and often write articles, and we submit it to JACR, and for a large part of the articles, they've accepted them with revision. Here was an article by Jensen Wing from 7 years ago. Jensen's the CEO of NVIDIA. He was CEO of NVIDIA then and now. But his brilliance in this article told you where the company was going. Or Ed Catmull, who was the CEO of Pixar, told you about error. We had people like Linda Carter talking about Wonder Woman teaching empathy. Or Steve Wolf Pereira talking about changes in education. Or Tina Wells talking about professional reinvention. Or Dave Hellman, a physician, talking about making medicine a better public trust. Or Marla Kaplowitz talking about the opportunities and the future of work. These were all talks given in the last year and a half or so during COVID. We have many more. You can look up my name and then JACR on PubMed, and you can see a lot of the really good talks. But it's one way of using social media to really help. Organizations, whether it's the ACER, which is the American Society of Emergency Radiology, talks about the use of social media for education, talks about best practices, talks about the fact that the realm of medicine has been quick to welcome social media, especially in radiology, where 85% of radiologists disclose social media participation through one or more platforms. And they're very positive about social media. They talk about ways of being careful. You'll notice we'll put up cases with diagnosis. I don't say a 30-year-old or a 40-year-old male. So we just try to teach, recognizing that you need to be careful to not have any HIPAA violations. The downside of social media is you make mistakes that magnified and last forever. You don't want to be saying stupid things. Inappropriate behavior can hurt your integrity. And it's just wrong, okay? If you know about vaccines, you can talk about it if you're an expert. If you're Paul Offit, talking about vaccines makes sense. If you don't know about vaccines and you're a radiologist, don't talk about vaccines. You can talk with your friends or relatives, but don't go on social media. Think about that ex-radiologist at Stanford talking about everything about COVID and how it basically ruined his career, but also put lives at risk. Again, with social media, remember when you're the reviewer, when you're the user, The material you're looking at is typically not peer-reviewed. There's no check of accuracy, and sometimes the agenda of the people posting it could be questionable. Again, you like to think that if it lectures from Hopkins, if it's from Stanford, Mass General, you name it, the people giving the lecture are experts in the field, but you need to be certain what you're looking at and take everything with a grain of salt. There's an article recently, this past month, by Rama talking about social media should not be oversold as a requirement for academic advancement. And I agree. I think social media is education. If your portfolio is an educator, I think social media is very important. But just to say that you have 1 million followers and I should make professor, that indeed is not going to be the case. Academic medicine carries expectations to generate new knowledge and to disseminate information through publications and lectures. This message of caution is especially important for early career faculty. You're not going to get promoted again by having 1 million followers. You need to have content. You need to write. It needs to be peer-reviewed. The web, social media, is not peer-reviewed. And here, again, in terms of the good side, we looked at our work and the work of the websites in Africa, areas particularly suffering under COVID, but in general, lack of physicians, lack of education, lack of training. A lot of users, over 20,000 user visits per month, again, across our websites. So we take great pride in the fact that the continent of Africa is home to 17% of the world's population, but only a small percent of people are using websites, in part because there's poor internet penetration. It's not the US, it's not Germany, it's not Japan, okay? So hopefully as more of the internet reaches that part of the world, education will also follow, because people in Africa really want to learn. They want to do the best for their patients, and I think it's a very cost-efficient way of reaching those people. Okay, very, very important to us. You can read this article. It broke down where in Africa our stuff was being used more, but it was totally related to where the internet was available. While reaching a larger African audience to deliver radiology remains a goal for our team, broadening internet access in Africa for larger purposes, such as increasing awareness of urgent public health issues, remains of greater importance. I think it's very important, and companies like Google and Facebook have tried to increase the ability to get internet connectivity in places like Africa. So that's moving along, and that's definitely going to help patient care in the long run. There's an article a few years ago, in fact, 11 years ago, but social media comes to healthcare, and it's been moving along for the past decade, and it's getting better. The empires of the future are the empires of the mind. And as long as we can provide quality information, the internet will prove to be the textbook of the 21st and 22nd century. And with that, I thank everybody for their attention, and have a great day. If you like this video, make sure to subscribe to the CT is Us YouTube channel. You can also visit us at ctisus.com for even more videos, plus quizzes, pearls, protocols, and oh so much more. We're also in the App Store and have well over a dozen apps for iPhone and iPad, all completely free. Thanks for watching.